Hello, 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 beautiful badass, and welcome to episode number 27 of the Magic is in You podcast, the podcast designed to empower badass women entrepreneurs who are wanting to grow themselves, know themselves, trust themselves, grow and expand their life and their business by releasing anxious self doubt so that they and you can embody your inner badass. I am so excited, and your inner magic. I'm so excited you are here today. Thank you. Welcome. My name is Kelsey Holmes. I am the life and mindset coach behind the Magic is in You podcast. And if this is your very first episode, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited that you are here today. I'm so grateful you are here today. And if this is episode number 27, welcome back, friend. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for your commitment to grow yourself, to know yourself, to learn, to expand, to be inspired, to be in the energy of growth, of that self-belief in yourself. I am so grateful you're here today. And if you have been listening for a minute, drop me a line. Let me know. Leave a little review on the podcast if you have been enjoying it. Thank you so much for sharing or listening. I'm just so excited and so grateful to have cultivated this podcast. This podcast, like I've mentioned before in past episodes, has been a dream of mine for many years before I actually had the guts, the balls, the gumption to start, because I was holding myself back in this place of self-doubt and just not feeling ready whenever ready actually comes, right? Ready truly kind of feels like a myth, at least to me. I'm very rarely ready for what's ahead, but that's something that I've been working on, that I've been cultivating, getting ready to be ready, right? In the words of Abraham Hicks, is being ready to be ready. And how I've cultivated that is through a number of different intentional practices, one of which has been to intentionally challenge myself to do hard shit, to do challenging things. That's what we're talking about today in the podcast. We are talking about how we can intentionally challenge ourselves to something. I'll share a couple examples in a minute, how we can intentionally challenge ourselves and how that challenge that we gift to ourselves, because it truly is a gift when we intentionally challenge ourselves to grow ourselves, to push ourselves outside of our comfort zone, to go somewhere that we haven't been before, whether that's physically like traveling, or maybe that's just getting to a point where you've committed to yourself and you've never committed to yourself for something for this long. For example, last year at the beginning of July 1st, actually, I had just recorded the very first two episodes of the Magic is in You podcast. If you go back and listen to it, you'll hear me all excited recording the very first episode on the summer solstice of 2024. Big, beautiful full moon energy that day. And just out on a whim, recorded the first episode. Something, like I said, had been percolating and growing for years. And so July 1st, I had recorded the first two episodes and I was on my yoga mat practicing. And my yoga practice is where I have gotten to come home to myself again and again and again. It's where I've learned how to become safe in my body, in my being. It's where I have felt safe to be present with myself, in my thoughts, in my mind, in my breath, in my body. It's gotten to be my little sanctuary, being on my yoga mat or in my yoga practice, even if it's a little off the mat, right? Because it's not just asana, not just on the mat. Anyway, I was on my yoga mat after I had practiced asana. So after I got done with my physical practice, I was sitting in meditation and just deep in this meditation of dedication to myself for having grown my yoga practice so much from having always wanted to be a yogi. Like I always had this pull, this desire to be what I considered a yogi, somebody who practices regularly, somebody who's embodied in themselves, somebody who walks in the energy of who they truly desire to be. I had always wanted that. And it took me a lot of years to cultivate my practice, where to the point where I wasn't kicking my own ass when I missed a practice, or I wasn't kicking my own ass when I didn't feel strong that day, or I wasn't kicking my own ass for only making it to 2 classes in a week, or having not made it to any classes in weeks. It took me a long time to get to the point where I felt solid in my yoga practice, whatever it looked like that day, where I didn't necessarily have to go super hard on the mat, where I allowed myself to meet myself where I was at in how I was feeling in my body and my mind and my breath on that day to cultivate my home practice. Anyway, I was on my mat last year and just in so much gratitude and appreciation for that consistency that I had cultivated in my yoga practice. And I was wanting to cultivate this consistency for my new podcast that I was about to launch. I hadn't launched it yet. I had only recorded the first couple of episodes. I was still figuring out all sorts of back-end tech and anyway, I hadn't quite launched it yet. So I was sitting on my yoga mat in meditation, kind of pondering this question or this desire to kind of prove to myself and like back up my commitment to myself with something that wasn't actually related to the podcast. And I had this intuitive hit in my meditation of I get to meet myself on my mat every single day for the next 6 months and really in that mat practice visualize and connect with the impact that my podcast or this podcast or my dream has on this world and connect to that vision of bigger than me, right? Because personally, podcasts have helped me completely transform the way I think and feel about myself on the inside, to elevate myself, to grow myself, to know myself, which has then completely transformed the way I look in my body, the way my life looks, the way my businesses operate, how much I've been able to actually grow in this physical, tangible reality that I get to play in, this magical land of life, right? Like, how fucking beautiful is it that we are a bunch of ants on this tiny little rock in outer space, flying through space at a gazillion miles an hour, just like randomly out here in the unknown, in the abyss of space. Like, how cool is it that we have this opportunity to connect like this through time and space? Because you're not listening to this right now as I'm speaking, right? I'm just sitting in a room by myself. Well, let's be real. I'm sitting in a room with my sweet puppy or sweet dog Opie, who's snoring on the floor over there. Hopefully you don't hear too much. Anyway, but you're listening to this at another time. You're listening to this at a time of your convenience. Maybe you're walking your dog. Maybe you're cleaning your house. Maybe you're driving somewhere. Maybe you're running kids around. Maybe you're on a run. Maybe you're working out. You're listening to this at a completely different time. Like, how fucking rad is it that we can connect like this through time and space, and how when we create something that's tangible, such as a podcast or such as a business or such as a physical item, for example, I create metal art with my husband, and the physical item is so fun to create with our hands and like actually tangibly creating this physical, tangible, touchable thing. Just like even when I was a kid and making jewelry. I mean, I still make jewelry for myself because I think it's so much fun. I love the act of creating. And the creative adventure is truly an adventure. Have you ever been, for example, creating something and you're so in it, you're so excited, you're so like gung-ho on it, you're like super committed, super consistent, and then all of a sudden something happens, perhaps a comment that was made, or all of a sudden a little fear comes up, or all of a sudden you hit this roadblock, and all of a sudden all of the momentum that you had behind this creating, it just falls flat. And it just like stops you dead in your tracks. Let me know if I'm not the only one on this, because this has happened to me, I feel like a gazillion times in my life, where all of a sudden I hit this roadblock of some sort within myself, or some sort of other thing that feels like it's a roadblock, and I let myself be in this excuse of the roadblock, and I will stop creating, which is never necessarily my intention, but it's my beautiful subconscious mind keeping me safe, keeping me protected against whatever this perceived threat is. For example, if it's a fear of judgment, this one has been one that's been a theme in my life for as long as I can remember. And I've grown so much out of it. And at the same time, I'm still fucking human, and I still have that lingering little thought in the back of my head, right? That fear of judgment. And this is one that in the past has stopped me in my tracks so many times. So last year on July 1st, when I dedicated and committed to myself by following my intuition to commit to showing up on my mat every single day and actually connecting with the impact that showing up for myself on my mat, and then also showing up for my podcast, not just for the Magic is in You podcast, not just for me, but for everybody else that it gets to connect with now and years into the future and eons into the future. And that ripple effect that happens from showing the fuck up and creating something tangible in this world. It's not just the creation, it's the ripple that's never ending tangibly out in this world. Like I said, whether it's a podcast, whether it's metal art, maybe it's jewelry, maybe it's something, some other business that you're creating. Maybe you're creating, I don't know, maybe you're creating a cookbook, and you know how much joy that is going to bring generations to come as they are following your recipes and reading all of your fun stories of how you came up with the recipe or how the recipe originated. Maybe it's an old family recipe passed down by generations, and you've got this whole lineage story in your cookbook. And that impact that putting the cookbook out into the world is truly going to have, not just for you and your family, if it's, for example, a family cookbook, but also for the families and the people who are going to get to enjoy all of the tasty meals that you put so much love and curation into creating these recipes for these people. So I committed to myself for 6 months, and I showed up every single day for at least 20 minutes a day in asana, meditation, pranayama, some sort of physical connection, somatic practice for my yoga practice every single day, so that I could connect with myself, with my energy, so that I could align my energy. Because I know from past experience that the adventure of creation comes from within, right? Yes, we can be inspired by outside sources and outside things. For example, the metal art that I love to create with my husband is oftentimes inspired by the landscape that I'm so grateful to call home. The beautiful peaks in Glacier National Park, the beautiful snow ghosts, snow-covered cake trees on the ski hill in the wintertime, the river texture, the texture of the rocks. Oftentimes my inspiration for the artwork that I create comes from what's around me, but it's that creative energy within inside myself of how my energy perceives what I see that creates the actual art. It comes from within, right? The magic is in you. The energy that you cultivate in yourself, your magic inside of yourself, is what goes into everything that you do in this world. And when we can intentionally cultivate that feeling of magic, cultivate our energy within inside of us, cultivate our connection to ourself, that fuels our creativity. Like I said, whether it's actual, not actual, whether it's a tangible art project, whether it's a digital art project, whether it's a class that you're teaching. Like when I teach yoga, being able to tap into my energy and my creative movement in my body first before I actually teach a yoga practice, when I can tap into my energy first, my classes are so much better. There's so much more fluidity. There's more fun and play and lightness within the class, which leaves people feeling like they can just breathe. They can be there. They can be present. They can laugh at themselves. They can not take themselves too seriously. They can meet themselves where they're at, because I've given myself permission to do that first, right? When I can meet myself where I'm at, wherever my energy is at that day, and I can actually really connect to my energy, connect to my magic, even if it's just 30 seconds before class. I teach a completely different class, and my students respond differently. Maybe you notice that, or can you think of a time in your life where you've noticed this, where maybe it's not yoga for you, maybe it's running. I personally find running fairly miserable and have tried a few times over the years and just never really stuck with it. Maybe one day I'll be a runner, but today I'm not a runner. But maybe it's running for you. Maybe running is where you feel that good challenge, where it feels like a challenge, but it still feels like you're connecting to yourself. It still feels like you're connecting to your body. Maybe it's walking. Maybe it's dancing. Maybe it's swimming. Maybe it's jump roping. I highly recommend doing something in your body specifically to tap into your energy, to challenge yourself somehow in your body. Maybe it's weightlifting, because when we challenge ourselves in our body, maybe it's hiking a really awesome hike that you never thought you might do, but so you like train for it, right? You train for it ahead of time, and then you go up this mountain or up this like long trail, and you just like impress yourself, you surprise yourself with how strong you are, how like how committed you are to getting to the peak, or how committed you are to enjoying the journey and not just being miserable through it. But you challenge yourself to train ahead of time. I highly recommend a physical somatic challenge for yourself, because this has been something that's helped me transform myself again and again and again and again, and shift out of anxious self-doubt, quite literally, and back into my embodied empowerment, my embodied magic. Because when we are getting in out of our head and into the body, out of the head into the body, out of the head into the body, when we are in that overthinking of self-doubt and overthinking of anxiety, that's where anxiety and self-doubt really live, is in the head, right? When we get out of our head and into the body in some sort of, no, predictable is not the word I want to say, but like some sort of consistent connection to your body. Not so much predictable in the way that it's like the same thing every time, predictable, but in that consistent manner where you are showing up for yourself because you've committed to yourself, to challenge yourself, to tune into your body a few times a week. Maybe it's just twice. Maybe it's once a week. You commit to yourself for the next, say, 6 weeks. Maybe once a week, you commit to yourself to meet yourself and do some sort of physical practice that feels good and is a bit challenging. For example, yoga to me oftentimes feels delightful and delicious, and it still fucking kicks my ass. I remember when I first started when I first started practicing yoga, let me rephrase that. When I very first started practicing yoga, I had done like a single credit yoga class at my community college that I was going to. I was the youngest person by like 50 years probably, which is pretty funny because that's a lot of the students in my yoga class now are coming to my classes now. Anyway, this class was basically teaching us the poses. There was no flow, there was no rhythm. I didn't know what flow was really at that point. I had unknowingly tapped into flow before as a figure skater, but I didn't know what flow was. Anyway, so I did this tiny little 1 credit class once a week. I was going to yoga classes for a semester. And then the next year, I got this little power yoga DVD from my roommate at the time. And it was, I want to say, Rodney Yim. And it was a, like I said, power yoga vinyasa DVD that I never finished once. And I probably did this DVD 100 times over about a 1.5 year period where I was living with this roommate. And not once did I ever finish this DVD because it was so fucking hard and so challenging, and just, yeah, just that kicked my ass every single time. So yoga, something that feels good, but can also be very challenging physically, which takes me, when it's challenging physically, out of my head and back into my body. When we have that challenge where it's not like we can't do it at all. It's not like I put 400 pounds of weights in front of me and expect myself to lift that off the ground. I personally am not lifting 400 pounds of weights, but maybe I start with 45 pounds of weights in front of me, like one single bar or something like that, and start there and work on building that strength where it's still a challenge, but I can actually still do it. When we have that sweet spot of it's challenging, but we can still do it even though it's hard, that's the sweet spot of getting us out of our head and into our body, because we have to focus just enough on what we're doing in our body that we cannot be thinking in anxiety and self-doubt and overwhelm. We can't get stuck in that because we're so focused on what is happening in our body in the here and now, in this present moment. So when we can challenge ourselves in some sort of physical challenge consistently, not just once, because it's kind of like, I like the example. It's kind of like brushing your teeth, recommended daily, or at least somewhat regularly, right? When you can challenge yourself consistently, even if it's just 2 minutes a day, even if it's 5 minutes a day, even if it's like an hour a week, maybe once a week you go on a hike, maybe once a week you go on a bike, maybe once a week you go to the gym to swim. When you can challenge yourself on a consistent basis in your body to get out of your head into your body, all of a sudden that's where you connect to your energy. That's where you connect to your magic. That's where you fuel your inner empowerment. And because we're doing this in the body, that's when we can actually embody our inner empowerment. That's when we can embody our inner magic. That's when we can embody our elevated energy. And we take that out of just the somatic practice. So, for example, for me, I take this off of my mat. I've shown up every day. Well, I just broke it actually this last weekend, every day for a year. And at the end of this 6-month initial challenge, I decided I wanted to continue the challenge. And I shifted it a little bit. I focused on creating or connecting with my body every single day. So I was doing pranayama, I was doing asana. I added more foam rolling in because I was realizing how much my body felt better doing foam rolling in this really mindful somatic way. So I shifted it a little bit at the 6 months, but I continued this practice of meeting myself daily in my body, on my mat, in pranayama, in meditation, with the foam roller every single day to connect with myself, to connect with my body, to challenge my body, and also to listen to my body so that I could build that trust within myself, so that I could build that connection within myself. And at the end of each of these practices, took at least 30 seconds to really focus on the impact, the ripple effect that me staying committed to myself, my growth, this podcast has out in the world. Because truly, ever since I was little, like I remember being like 4 or 5 years old and like picking up litter, wanting to make the world better and like helping people and, like wanting to go out and like help people. I saw the suffering in the world, even as 5-year-old, and wanted to help people. And when I can connect to that bigger desire that maybe this podcast episode about challenging ourselves in some sort of physical somatic way will inspire somebody, one person even, to lovingly meet themselves once a week, once a day, to connect with themselves, to grow themselves, to know themselves, to tap into their body, then I feel like everything I do, everything I put into it is worth it, because I know how much this has empowered me, from taking me from so much self-loathing, so much self-hatred, so much kicking my own ass day after day, hating my body, hating where I was at, into this place where I can love myself, know myself, grow myself, trust myself, have my own fucking back. Sometimes I doubt myself. That's because I'm fucking human, but I allow myself to meet myself where I'm at rather than spiraling down and getting stuck in the trenches of anxious self-doubt and not allowing myself to rise out of it. Then, yeah, I feel like that right there is so beautiful. And I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to do this, because I truly believe that when we can love ourselves first, then we're kinder people in the world. We're kinder people to our family members. We're kinder people to our friends. We're kinder people to our community. And when we show up kinder, that ripples. Think about it. If we want more peace in the world, which all I've ever wanted, little hippie at heart. If we want more peace in the world, it really truly starts with us. If we're constantly at war within ourselves, how the fuck can we expect to create peace in the world? Like, if we're at war with those in our household, if we're at war with those in our community, how do we expect to create peace in the world? I truly believe at this point that if we want peace in this world, on this globe, in this life, on this earth, it starts with every single individual creating peace and love within inside themselves, because that peace and love within inside of you ripples out far beyond what you could ever know. Science shows that any movement, vibration of voice, movement of body, ripples out an energy wave that never stops. So literally, they have measured this, and the ripple of energy continues out infinitely. So when I push my hands towards you or towards the screen, that ripple ripples out infinitely into the, like, through the bedroom that I'm in, past the walls that I'm in. It ripples out to the mountains that are just across the valley floor here. It ripples beyond the mountains and out into the ethers of the universe. So when you show up for yourself, when you challenge yourself to get out of your head into your body and keep that commitment to yourself, you're growing yourself, knowing yourself, loving yourself. This is a way to love yourself, because not only do you get out of your head into your body to allow yourself to release anxious self-doubt so that you can embody your inner empowerment, but then you are also training yourself so that when the challenges of life happen inevitably, right? Because life is an opportunity, an adventure, and there's going to be incredible things, and there's going to be incredibly shitty things, and there's going to be everything in between. When life offers you challenges and you have already practiced meeting yourself in challenge regularly, consistently, you respond to the challenges of life with more flow, with more ease, with more presence, with more cognitive presence, so that you can create the best outcome possible for yourself and for your life. It allows you to build the inner resilience and inner strength that it takes to actually cultivate something that you truly desire. If you own a fucking business, you know that it is like one of the best personal growth journeys that you could ever go on. And when you challenge yourself in a somatic way, for example, on the mat, running, swimming, biking, meditation, pranayama, breath work, if you challenge yourself in some sort of physical somatic way, that empowers you in all of the other areas of your life. It allows you to show up stronger, more resilient when challenges of life inevitably arise. So if this was empowering for you, please let me know. Thank you again so much for being here. I hope that this inspires you to at least perhaps consider challenging yourself to some sort of regular somatic or movement practice so that you can tap into your magic every single day, so that you can move the energy in your body, so that you can become stronger, more resilient, more embodied in your own badassery. Because, dear, the magic is inside of you. And if you want to dive in deeper, I currently have one spot available for one-on-one 3-month Elevate You transformational coaching experience, which is custom tailored for you, including 2 rapid transformational therapy hypnosis sessions to unlock the limiting subconscious beliefs from the past, rewrite the stories of old limiting beliefs that you were telling yourself, so that you can subconsciously align yourself and rewrite your program with the inside of yourself, along with 10 coaching sessions to dive deep, somatically embody your inner empowerment so that you can show up as a powerful badass that you truly know you are, and create the ripple effect that you desire in this life. If you want more information, click the link below, or feel free to shoot me a DM on Instagram at Kelsey the Adventurer. And if you're not sure, but you're kind of curious, I am offering for a limited period of time a few one-on-one, one-off coaching calls for you to kind of like test the water, see if we are a good match, so that you can somatically transmute a limiting belief in your body, in your being, so that you can take action and cultivate what you truly desire, that energy, that direction of what you truly desire, so that you can take aligned action to getting you to where you want to grow. So if you want more information about the 1-to-1 75-minute limiting belief busting session, that is also below. And in love, light, and so much gratitude, thank you so much for being here, you beautiful, brave badass. Go out, remember that the magic is inside of you. I will see you soon. Peace.